Welcome, and what is up? Thank you for tuning back into the Chaos Layer. Unfortunately, this is not a very happy time, happy video, happy moments. As you already know, I'm sure everybody knows it by now, and I kind of feel like I was one of the last ones to know this time, actually, that, as you can see, this video is dedicated to the passing of the legendary Lance Russell. Living outside of Memphis for all of my life, I grew up with Lance, so I'm very, very partial when I say, but I still feel like it's true, that he is one of the top 3 greatest announcers in professional wrestling history, and that's just the way it is. I have my top 3, which I won't reveal now because I don't want people to argue over who I left out, because there is one name that I left out that I shouldn't have, probably in most people's eyes, and we'll argue about that later. The best memories I have of Lance Russell, for one, is just his smart wit and his just perfect timing and his great storytelling. From match to match to match, you hardly ever saw him get hot. I do recall a couple of times where he did get hot, and I just hate knowing that this has happened today. I mean, it's absolutely awful. Lance Russell, of course, he was the voice of Memphis wrestling for the most part from like 1960-ish to 1997. And he worked for years alongside Lawler and Jimmy Hart and just some of the best, all of the best that came through Memphis. And there have been a lot of people that have came through Memphis, and I cannot. One of the first things that comes to mind when I think about Lance Russell is the story that Lawler had with Andy Kaufman. And Andy, being so name-driven for Memphis wrestling and getting it such the publicity that it got. Also, I think of, classic interviews that he did with Lawler and Jimmy Hart, and a who's who of anybody that came through Memphis. I mean, you can think of them all. Steve Austin came through Memphis he was there a year or something. The Rock was in Memphis. Of course, Jerry Lawler just did a podcast about The Rock's time in Memphis. Vince McMahon, Bret Hart, Randy Savage, Ric Flair, and I know I'm going back now, but just a who's who. Anybody that's anybody went through Memphis at one time or another between 60 and, the close, I say that, of Memphis wrestling. Of course, Memphis wrestling will never die. It's just not like it was. The empty arena match that he called between Lawler and Funk was so good. And he knew when to lay out and because Funk was just crazy yelling at Lawler, that whole thing. I highly, highly recommend. I know it's on YouTube. Go watch it. You're already here on YouTube watching this, so go watch it. It's just a fantastic moment in wrestling history. Of course, he later went on, Lance did, to join WCW, and he worked in WCW from 1989 to 1992. He didn't do like a whole lot for WCW, but I believe he hosted Worldwide Wrestling with Jim Ross. I remember seeing that for the first time thinking, oh my God, Lance is on WCW. That's crazy. Being the first time I had ever seen somebody, or that I remember, that I really recall somebody leaving one company that I watched and going to another. It was crazy. Of course, he came back to Memphis, and he worked with Dave Brown again, and Corey Macklin, and just so great days. I never got a chance to meet Lance. I always wanted to. I come close a couple of times, thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to finally meet Lance and finally be able... No. It never happened. It never, for one reason or another, it just never happened. And so I blame myself for that. I had already blamed myself for that. Now I really blame myself for that. But, Lance was a good dude. From everybody that I've talked to that did meet or did know Lance. One of the most genuine people in professional wrestling, which you hear a lot when people die, but the ones that truly mean it, like he was a genuine person. He was married one time, 67 years, if my research is right, that he was married to Audrey. And she died in 2014. His daughter actually just passed away a couple of days ago from cancer. And he actually broke his hip on that same day. And then, of course, he died today. So, it's... I don't know what to think about how he felt after having to bury his daughter. I can only imagine. But... we psych nerds, as I like to refer to myself. I'm not as big a psychology nerd as I used to be. Even though I did graduate with a minor in psych, the study of people and brain and things like that, I could go on a whole diatribe about what I think, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to keep everybody here, and some of you have probably already clicked off. I will say Lance will be missed. I hope that WWE does some kind of package for Lance. I doubt they'll put it on TV, but I feel like they need to do some kind of package and at least put it on social. They've already made mention of it. They wrote up a big thing on .com about it, which I'm sure is on the app as well, that somebody sent me, and I think that the time is now that WWE inducts Lance Russell into the WWE Hall of Fame. It's been coming. It should have already happened. And it hasn't happened yet. And it's very, very sad that he is not... the Cauliflower Alley Club gave him the Announcers Award last year. Combat Pro, Sport Pro inducted him in their Hall of Fame class of 2015. Of course, he was in the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame in 1994 under the United States Wrestling Association, and then again under another Memphis Hall of Fame that Lawler's putting together. I think that he did it earlier this year or last year sometime. The Wrestling Observer named him the best announcer from 84 to 87. And then, of course, the Wrestling Observer inducted him into their class of Hall of Fame in 1996. So the time is right for the WWE to induct him into their Hall of Fame, because so many guys that came through WWE worked in Memphis. And I can only imagine that the talents got better working with Lance, being around Lance, once they got to the WWE. And I think Jerry Lawler would definitely agree with that statement. So that's all I've got. I will be back here later tonight, as I always am, for SmackDown Live, the 411 for SmackDown Live. The go-home show tonight for Hell in a Cell. Should be a good show. I can't wait to see what goes down. Follow me on Twitter at The Answer Chaos. I will be live tweeting tonight. And let's get back to wrestling. Let's always remember Lance. Deuces. Chaos out.